Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Casanelli and I talk about how you can make sure if you are doing any traveling, how to try and stay safe. We also talk about Waze finally adding CarPlay and, interestingly, Microsoft Teams adding CarPlay as well. Plus, Mariah Carey's holiday special, Hulu's Watch Party feature, and a little bit of news about HomeKit before we round things out with holiday decorating with smarts and our picks of the week. All that and more coming up on Smart Tech Today. Smart Tech Today is brought to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. We know you're focused on security, but are your employees? Well, LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Molecule. Molecule air purifiers destroy the widest range of pollutants compared to traditional air purifiers, including viruses, bacteria, mold, allergens, and chemicals in the air. Save up to $150 during Molecule's limited time holiday sale. And if you're listening after the sale, make sure to still include our code for 10% off your first air purifier order. Visit molecule.com and enter code STT10. And by Technology Powers X. Learn how technology and IT departments are reshaping their businesses through an original podcast from Dell Technologies. Search for Technology Powers X anywhere you listen to podcasts and download each episode today. And by Mint Mobile. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/STT. Welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, the dynamic, and the, well, sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am one of your hosts, Micah Sargent.
And I am your other host, Matthew Casanelli. Hello, Micah. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, Matthew. We are well into the December month. It is chilly outside. There's a great smell of festivity in the air. And not a care in the world, except all of the cares that we have. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all the real cares. It's
all the cares that are out there. This
is like the warmest day of the last month and probably for the next 2 months. So I am savoring it and already went on a nice walk.
Oh, good.
Good way to start.
Well, speaking of walks and speaking of walks and being around other people, yeah, we'll go with that. There is a little kind of a public service announcement that folks should know about, which is, if you have an Android device or an Android device with one of the latest versions of Android or an iOS device with one of the latest versions of iOS, then you can actually be notified when you are near someone or when you were near how is the best way to put this? Because the tenses are a little weird. You will be notified at some point if in the period since you had it turned on, you had come into contact with someone who later learned they were COVID positive. So essentially, we know that there's been this feature within iOS and Android devices by way of Apple and Google to do what are called exposure notifications. And not many, but several states have an app that interfaces with the service provided by Apple and Google that does exposure tracking. And so for the longest time, it kind of required those apps in order to use these tools. But what's cool is, even if you don't have one of the apps, if you have the option kind of turned on in the settings, you can still be notified if someone else ends up being diagnosed with COVID-19 and through their app in their state where they do have apps, they have gone in and had that exposure notification setting turned on and confirmed. Because that's the other thing, is that some states are different depending on what state and what app you're using, there are confirmations that have to take place. So, some kid can't just go in and, I have COVID-19, bop, 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 and then freak everybody out. It actually has to be sort of, you say, yes, I have it, and then it gets passed on to someone who says, oh, yes, that is a real thing. They do have it. And then at that point, then people can be notified. So you can have that turned on. If you're on an iOS device, I can walk you through the process, which is to launch the settings app, to scroll down until you find exposure notifications, which is underneath emergency SOS and above battery. And then the top part should show exposure logging, and that is where you can enable the exposure logging. But then there's also availability alerts, which is another feature that you probably want to have turned on, which lets you know, hey, exposure logging or exposure notifications are available in your area, and then you can therefore turn them on.
Yeah, so that, especially that part, is worth. Everybody should go in and set this up, even if it's not available in your area yet, because then it'll let you know. But it is pretty interesting. I feel like it also, since it's so spread out, it's hard to track when these are coming out. And so I didn't even know it was like, I kind of vaguely knew it was available, but just went in and it was all turned off. And so I set it up and it did an exposure check just now and another one this morning. It's like it looks like 5 times a day about, just to see. And then I think the part that I didn't fully realize too was that if you do get COVID and have a diagnosis, you go into this part of the settings app and click share a diagnosis. And then they have a little disclaimer screen that they show you, but also you have to enter in a code that I think comes with your diagnosis. I'm obviously, you
again,
know,
it depends on the state.
Got that situation. Yeah. So it makes sense. Oh yeah, good point. Depending on the state, but at least for California, that's the method there. And you can add other regions. You can go in and check your diagnosis or your exposure checks too. And I think what you said, that's an important point, is that even in the 14 days, somebody could not have shared their diagnosis at all, and you would be fine. But then on that last day, they could share it, and it could go back and check and know you interacted with them then. So, and then I think another thing that I saw in the article was just about, it's just sharing random Bluetooth identifier codes, and so it's not any sort of tracking thing. So I think when this first happened, that was like the major concern is, oh, great, now all of the major phone providers are going to be like tracking where we're interacting with each other and things like that. But this is purely for this sort of situation, and it seems to be rolling out further and further. And the articles too we're mentioning that we put in the show notes is even a small reduction or a certain amount of people just using this can reduce exposures by like 15%, which can really lower it because of just the nature of the virus. So this kind of thing is pretty important, even if it seems very simple to do.
Here in our state, the app launches statewide on December 10th. So 3 days from now, it will be launching, and I will be downloading it. And I've already got it enabled as it exists now, which is just in the university, but I will definitely be getting the app and, getting that all set up whenever it comes out. The next one is that, so we had talked about Waze getting CarPlay support. That is Apple's head-up display UI on your in your car, of course. And some of the third-party driving and GPS services had CarPlay support. Some didn't, and Waze was on its way. Well, Waze was on its ways, and now it is officially available. So if you are a Waze user and you've been wanting to use it with CarPlay, you will be happy to know that it is available now. And so you should be able to get that and get lane guidance as well, which I guess I didn't know Waze didn't have lane guidance. So that's nice.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah, like especially with CarPlay, the main part is in that dashboard view where you can see the map plus the turn-by-turn directions and your media playing at the same time, which is nice because otherwise you'd kind of have to be switching in between, which is a little bit dangerous sometimes. So that all-in-one view is now there. And yeah, in-app lane guidance, I thought that was like Waze's original major feature. So maybe it's been a while since I've used it because I haven't had the need, but especially when I was even like going to Apple, it was just like, I didn't want to look at it because it was brutal.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is kind of a one for folks who are Slack users or who are Microsoft Teams users for work. Of course, Slack was recently acquired by Salesforce, and that kind of got a big conversation going. But one of the longtime players in the sort of collaborative space has been Microsoft Teams. And Teams started out as, you may remember, Slack put out a full page ad in the New York Times being like, "Hey, welcome to the race. We're happy to have you here." But Teams has quickly just grown and grown and grown. What's interesting is that Teams continues to have stuff added to it, and just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But one of the biggerifications of the Teams app is a new interface to try and make it easier for folks to use, and the onboarding process has changed as well. I spoke with Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott on Windows Weekly I guess it's been 2 weeks ago now. And on that episode, one of the things that we talked about was Microsoft Teams and kind of all of the things that have been happening to it. And it is, you'll notice there's a goose if you're watching. That is because I described what Microsoft does with Teams as foie gras-ifying Teams, because they just keep packing it full to burst. And some people think it's a delicacy, but most people are like, wow, that's a really bad thing you're doing, which is kind of how people feel about foie gras and why it's banned here in California. Anyway, point is, Teams is a lot and it wants to be everything for everybody, but with that is the ability to make it more available to your average person, so that it's not just the tool you use for business, but so that it's also the tool that you use for, setting up a private social network, kind of like what Slack is for many of us in our space. Teams wants to be that as well. And speaking of CarPlay, it also has CarPlay support. So you can get those important Teams messages. And more importantly, if you're on the road, you can take a conference call while you are, on the road. So, Microsoft continues to improve it. I think that's good.
I thought it was, my first reaction to this headline was just like, man, you can't even get away from work in the car. But also, it does make sense for a lot of teams that are on Microsoft, is there's a lot of traveling salesman type people and people out on the road. And so just being able to properly dial into the tool instead of on a phone call or something like that makes a lot of sense. It is just like interesting to see collaborative workspace stuff in the car. Kind of funny. Yeah, and I can't totally show it because I'm standing up, but I'm wearing my Slack socks today. I mean, Salesforce socks. So
I still don't have Slack socks, and I probably will never get them because Salesforce. No, I kid. It's fine. It's fine. Let's see. Oh, Android users are now able to not only share Street View photos, but they can also take Street View photos. So anyone that has an Android camera can become a Street View car, essentially, to help add to the Street View experience. This is, I think, very nifty that, there are some areas where you don't have Street View available. And maybe it's something that you want, or you want to let other people have access to. And so you can go out there as an individual and say, by golly, I'm going to help people out and set up Street View. You will need to have an Android device that supports AR Core. But given that, you can use your Android device to help add to the Google Maps experience. I think this is really neat.
It totally makes sense, especially now that they have that kind of underlying technology built into the device that enables it to stitch those together and tell you basically where to take those photos. It just totally makes sense. It's like we've all got these phones in our pocket and have for years and years. It does seem silly that they're still driving around doing this. But I guess now that I think about it, look both ways and make sure no cars are coming, because I guess it sort of implies that you have to walk down the middle of, maybe if you shoot from one side and then like the other, that'd be interesting to test, but be safe.
I think I would drive my car and just have it mounted to the dashboard, sort of like a dash cam, and then use it that way.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to get out of my car. Yay. Let's go ahead and take a quick break before we come back with more news. I want to tell you about something that will help you breathe easier. It's Molecule. With so many of us spending more time at home, clean indoor air is more important than ever. Indoor air can be up to 5 times more polluted than outdoor air. Instead of just collecting pollutants like other air purifiers, Molecule air purifiers destroy them. Yes, as you're sitting there breathing in all of the dead skin cells you've sloughed off in the past week and thinking about your animals who are also sloughing dead skin cells and hair and fecal matter and all sorts of other gross nonsense, think about how to improve the quality of your air around you. Listen, cleaner air is, as you might imagine, better air. Dirty indoor air can contain allergens like dust, pollen, pet dander, and pollutants like VOCs, bacteria, mold, and viruses. Molecule air purifiers don't just capture these offenders, they destroy them on a molecular level. Of course, these purifiers have been tested, vetted, and proven. Molecule's PICO technology, that's photoelectrochemical oxidation, and filtration systems have been rigorously tested and verified by third-party labs and are scientifically proven to destroy pollutants. Molecule believes in scientific disclosure and makes testing and scientific data public, so you can go and read about it for yourself. And make sure that you understand it before you make a purchase. According to the EPA, Molecule's PICO technology meets the performance requirements and FDA guidance for use in helping reduce risk of exposure to SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19 virus, in healthcare settings during the COVID-19 emergency. While it's important to maintain other good preventative practices, this is an extra layer of virus protection for your spaces. It's for the whole home and beyond. Molecule now offers its breakthrough PICO technology across a range of products, providing a clean air solution for a range of environments. Whether you need the Molecule Air for large spaces, the Air Mini for small rooms, or Air Pro for your extra large rooms in your home or business, you can now pick the unit that's best for your space or create a discounted bundle to help protect your entire home, office, or business against pollutants. Not only is the technology inside revolutionary, but the units themselves, as you can see if you're watching, they look sleek and modern. They're made with premium materials and minimalist sensibilities, so it complements any room in your home or office. You can save up to $150 during Molecule's limited time holiday sale. And if you're listening after the sale, make sure to include our code for 10% off your first air purifier order. Visit molecule.com. That's MOLEKULE.com. And please make sure to support the show by using the promo code we have for you, STT10, so that they know that Smart Tech Today sent you. Enjoy free shipping and a 30-day at-home trial on your order. Use the code STT and the number 10, STT10. Thanks so much to Molecule for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. All right. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about those presents underneath the Christmas tree. I don't know the rest of the song, but you may recognize that as Mariah Carey's song, whose name escapes me at the moment. But Mariah Carey has a special out on Apple TV. And so if you have Apple TV Plus by way of the Apple TV app, which is available on lots of different smart televisions, of course, the Apple TV itself, as well as any iOS devices you have, then you can check out this Christmas special that she has going on. Oh, it's called All I Want for Christmas. You know, somebody pointed out with that song that it's kind of a dig because she's saying, I don't want a lot for Christmas, but I do want you, meaning implying that you are not a lot. You are less than the presents I would normally get. So really, it's kind of a rude thing to say to somebody when you think about it.
It's an interesting take there. I feel like she's the kind of person who wants a lot of presents. And so
Yeah, I want you and all of your presents. Exactly. Mariah Carey and I don't get along famously. Yeah. No, it's not famously. I have issues with Mariah Carey. And so every time somebody, brings up this song as the alleged Christmas song of the ages, I just kind of roll my eyes and ask that we move on. But there are a lot of people who like Mariah Carey, and that's fine. And so if that's your thing, well, there are lots of smart devices out there that can play her Christmas special. And so, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's fair. She's definitely not for everyone. I totally listened to it earlier, and I think it's. I was trying to figure out why it's so hooky, because it just catches you, and I just feel like I end up dancing unintentionally. So
yeah, it's a toe tapper.
Certainly a mood setter, but I'm not going to listen to it every day or anything like that. Part of why I wanted to include it is because I did make a shortcut that it's called just Play Christmas Music, and I went through all of the holiday playlists in the Apple Music collection under holiday and put the links into a shortcut, and also a way to set your music playback destination to a HomePod or Apple TV or AirPods or just your device, so that you could basically go in and play Christmas music immediately. Because I never remember. There's so many different playlists. A lot of them I'm not totally a fan of, and so I put them all in. I'm going to just slowly delete the ones that I don't like over time, and then maybe just keep this for next year. But yeah, that's available on my website. Got a link in the show notes.
All right. I've sent that to myself, so I can add that to mine as well. For folks who want to be able to watch stuff with their family this holiday season, watch things together, Netflix, of course, has its method of doing this. Some of the different, I think Disney Plus is one, but Hulu has a watch party feature that was in beta for a while. I guess it's been in beta since May, but Hulu is now rolling it out to everybody. So anybody with a Hulu and Hulu No Ads subscription can connect with their friends and family from across the world, as long as you both have the subscription. So it's a little convoluted in how you get it set up. But once you get it set up, then you can be watching from your place and they can be watching from theirs, and you can both chat kind of on the side as you're watching together. So it's, of course, synced together, and you can watch and tune in together. Nice.
Yeah. Pretty neat. Seems inevitable kind of thing. And it is only available on Hulu.com, so you can't do it on the TV or anything like that. But also, I'm going to be typing on the TV, so it does kind of make sense. I'd like to see it on iPad, I guess, but
yeah, that would be
probably
nice.
A technical limitation there.
And then Amazon has added webcam support to its Fire TV Cube. That means that you will be able to use it to call any ALEXA-enabled device that has a screen and a webcam, including, smartphones that are ALEXA-enabled, Fire tablets, and, of course, the Echo Show. So basically, you can have your Fire TV Cube out to the side. You can plug in a webcam, and then you can use one of the services to actually do a webcam chat, which I think is very cool. That way you can use your big old television as a way to have a chat with folks from across distances. This is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like I was trying to do this through my Xbox and some other ways. I think the audio feedback was part of the problem, but I kind of assume if they've built support that they have some sort of cancellation technology that is built in, because otherwise it would be madness. And it also is funny because it says don't use 4K webcams, which is like the one that I use that really is not supported well in almost anything, because almost nothing is built for 4K webcam usage. And so it ends up having to convert down or something like that. So it is just get one of the normal Logitech ones. But this is honestly awesome. I totally believe that this is what we should have, is webcams on our TVs, because they're giant and you can sit on the couch and all see each other from that distance.
Yes.
The audio part is pretty much the main issue.
Yeah.
But it looks like there's also some other if you're on Fire TV, you can get Ring doorbell notifications and speak back and forth with ALEXA and kind of only have a little small overlay instead of a whole full screen experience thing. So it's pretty nice. Kind of more smart stuff for Fire TV.
Yeah. This next one I just saw right before the show started, so I'm glad you have it in the notes. And that is that Google is adding Apple Music support to the Smart Assistant, to the Google Assistant. So that way, if you're using smart speakers that have the Google Assistant or displays that have the Google Assistant, like the Nest Hub, Nest Hub Max, or the Nest Audio, you will be able to log in with your Apple Music subscription and use that as your music streaming service of choice. So Amazon added this a long time ago when Amazon and Apple started to play nice again after a period of not playing nice. And you would go into the ALEXA app and log into your Apple Music subscription or log into your Apple Music account. And then you could say, hey, dear friend, play Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas on Apple Music, and then it would do that. But that was not an option, a feature, a setting on the Google Assistant supported devices. And now it is. So if you've got an Apple Music subscription and you've been holding out to get that on your Google device, well, now you can do so. Yay.
I love seeing just the I don't know, like competing for the users in a way that's user-friendly and not business-friendly.
Yes.
Or necessarily. I mean, it's still business-friendly.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it, Matthew. Yeah.
Before, it was like you kind of had to pick your smart speaker based on what music service you used. And now that's kind of going away. I think Spotify on HomePod is still probably the major holdout for most people. But it seems like that should be possible, or is... I'm not sure if Spotify is just not doing it or what. I'm sure that's a whole strategic thing there, but I think it makes a lot of sense, especially tons of people who use Google services and probably got free Google Homes through other means have these in their house and want to use it with their preferred music system. So it totally is like, oh yeah, now I have 3 more speakers that work with Apple Music that I guess all my Echoes do too, but for some reason that seems like further apart psychologically than Google and Apple do, mostly because Amazon is like a retail company, essentially. I mean, they're still tech, but Google has always been a little bit more tech, and so it kind of fits together nicely there. So I might use it. I'm not sure. I do have a Nest Hub and a HomePod Mini in the kitchen, and it's kind of like maybe I don't need the Mini in there, but it also does sound way better, so I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll try it out, though.
Hey. Hi.
One sec.
Can't hear. Oh, you got that British.
The app hasn't added support for that with Siri.
So it's the app's fault.
Oh, yeah, they're totally blaming him. That's funny.
The app hasn't had support with that for Siri.
All right,
well, good voice? To know. That's the Australian male.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, because I used to have it set up, and then I went back to the standard female Siri voice because it was the only one that had the modern artificial intelligence machine learning packages. But as of WWDC, Apple added those packages to the other English-speaking voices as well. So I was able to add it. I was able to use the Australian male voice, which I feel is the best voice. But it wasn't for the period of time because it didn't have the better ability to sort of change its cadence and enunciation and things.
Okay. Nice. Like synthesize it properly. Because I should test it. The speak text action in Shortcuts is cool because it can use that Siri synthesis voice to read things like articles out loud. Like I listened to some of these articles for this podcast using Siri and Shortcuts, and I've always wanted to see if it worked with those other voices, but it's always a little... That sounds like it probably still wouldn't, but they could add it in. So maybe I'll request that.
Yeah. Up next in HomeKit news, the Ecobee SmartCamera, which is made by the folks who make the best smart thermostat available for HomeKit, has added or has put out a firmware update that adds HomeKit Secure Video to the platform. We've talked before about HomeKit Secure Video, which is a special type of video. It's a special video service that lets you use your internet-connected cameras with HomeKit to stream video, to be able to recognize when there are pets, automobiles, people, and certain kinds of motion that go in front of the camera without ever having to send that video up to the cloud for processing. That can all happen locally by way of your HomePod, your iPad, your Mini, any device that's sort of sitting around the house, to do that locally in your local area network. And then it will store video for you in the cloud, encrypted in a way that you are the only one who can see it. So it's just a more private and secure way of doing it than what the third parties tend to offer. And it is, and I'm doing scare quotes for people who are listening, it is free. A free service that you can use, because you do need to have an iCloud storage plan to be able to use it effectively. But if you have an iCloud storage plan, then it is pretty great.
You have to have a minimum 200
lots of video. There you go.
So it's like if you're under that, you will probably need to upgrade. So once you pay for it, it's free. Perfect.
I love how that works.
But the Verge article also mentions that because HomeKit Secure Video doesn't support panning and tilting the cameras up and down and left and right. So if you switch from Ecobee's subscription service, you'll have to forego that for now, it seems like, until maybe Apple adds further support. So there is kind of a trade-off, but I think for a lot of people, just Apple's security system thing is kind of just built in and a little more default, versus you kind of have to pick and choose, and each different offering from the different video camera service might be a little bit different. So it's kind of more consistent on that side. But it tends to happen with HomeKit, you make a little trade-off for the ease of use. So hopefully they expand that next year.
Exactly. I'm hoping that's a change that comes to the HomeKit service, is pan and scan abilities. In finally news, the Flic buttons, the Flic smart buttons, which have been around for quite a while, the second generation of them support HomeKit. Yay! These buttons are super cool because you can do one press to do one action, two presses to do another action, and then a press and hold to do a third type of action. In HomeKit parlance, they're called stateless smart switches. And so they're pretty cool because there are all those different actions that you can do within them. And I've heard very good things about Flic, because there are different stateless switches out there from different companies, and some of them are trash and some of them are not. And it depends on, how reliable they are in terms of actually hearing or receiving your gesture and then actually doing the thing that it asks you to do. And the responsiveness and the connectivity of these has been pretty well lauded. So I think that these are definitely something that I'm going to be looking into. The availability of them is kind of at the moment because people seem to really dig them. But I would love to get some of these and add them to my setup for sure. Especially, I think that these would be great as a way to have a turn on and turn off the lights in any given room. So all of the smart lights in a room can turn on, all the smart lights in a room can turn off with the one button or the two button press.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any of these? Is that Flic 2 or Flic 1? Yeah, it is.
I ran into them at CES and asked them, or they just gave me the bundle basically to test out, because I was I've been waiting for HomeKit support, but I was I do shortcut stuff. I'll do this all day long. So I'm super excited. I didn't know it was coming yet, but that's cool that it's already out. I've got the set here and I'll test them out. I do think, I'll say up front, it's a little pricey compared to the Hue one now that they have. That's, I think, only $30. and works with, but you probably need to have the Hue hub already. And so the Flic thing does come with a hub to start out. So that's also worth mentioning. It probably needs an Ethernet port.
Oh yeah, if you're
like
running
you said,
low
they're
on those.
reliable. They've got little stickers too. I don't have them on here, but you can sort of show what the button does to people who are using it. So it could just be a little light signal on there or something like that, which is helpful too. But yeah, this is great to see. This is one of those that's like, will it ever get it? And yes, they finally did. So hopefully we stop hearing that kind of HomeKit story where they're like, HomeKit coming soon, and then it's a year and a half or 2 years until that happens. But it's kind of, like you said, it's a finally. We have to actually appreciate those when the day comes, because it doesn't always happen.
Exactly. Celebrate good times. Come on. This is I like this one because it is one that I don't have. And so I think that I might have to check this out. Folks love, in fact, I think last year I ended up giving this as a common gift to family, was a diffuser. And so you put, essential oils into it. And typically they're sonic diffusers, ultrasonic diffusers. So there's a little piezo transducer that will send out a ultrasonic sound wave that causes the water within the device to atomize. It turns it into little tiny, what look like steam coming out of the device. And you put little drops of essential oils on the top surface of the water. And so as it atomizes, it sort of locks onto the water droplet. The little bits of oil lock onto the water droplet and then spread throughout your home. And so then you get this nice, beautiful smell throughout your house, depending on what essential oil you use. But there is a HomeKit-enabled diffuser, which I think would be kind of a fun automation to set up, where you have in a room, you have a room sensor that can tell when, say, the particulates in the room are particularly high. And upon doing so, it will turn on an air purifier that you have in the room and turn on the diffuser to make your room smell very good, and then also clean the air at the same time.
Wouldn't you need to do those sequentially though? Because you'll just suck in the diffused stuff into the purifier.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. You'd want to run the first part for like an hour, and then that's a good point.
I mean, I think especially if you're using essential oils, the main thing that I'm curious about is if it's putting VOCs into the air, like volatile organic compounds, because that's the thing with candles, is the reason the air is filled with the scent of the candle is because you're burning stuff and it's filling the air with particles. And so it's, even though it's nice to give the scent, you're not freshening the air, you're making it worse usually. And so something like this, I'm curious if it's pretty harmless in terms of what it's putting into the air. Like I assume, especially if
you're using essential oils, then they should only have that exact molecule in. Basically, you need to get good quality essential oils, and then you're fine, because it shouldn't have alcohol, ethanol, formaldehyde, methyl chloride, nitrogen oxide, propane, acetone, carbon disulfide, dichlorobenzene, terpene, toluene, xylene, butane, pesticides. Those are
Where
the
are you
list
reading this from? Okay, because
I'm
there's no
reading a list of all. Yeah, I just have those memorized, actually.
I was like, dear God, Micah, like, how do you just know this stuff? It sounds like
that one I did look up. The list of all volatile organic compounds. Okay. Yeah, sometimes candles, it's the wax can have stuff in it that will get into the air. But if you're using a good quality essential oil, that is just literally molecules of that substance, and so you wouldn't be putting those into the air as you are making the air smell good. So yeah, you should be okay. And I think that that's part of the reason why people like to use diffusers, because literally what you're putting in the air is water molecules and little bits of jasmine or I don't know, peppermint or whatever else it is. I just got some spearmint oil. Oh, it's the best thing ever.
That's interesting. Yeah, this looks cool. I think this is the first HomeKit diffuser, and so I don't understand what exact controls you have. I wonder if it just kind of works as a outlet and on and off sort of situation, which is fine. And then you could probably get the rest from the app. So that's always a thing. My first thought too was that it does have a light on it. And I was like, it better not just be the light that's HomeKit. And then they sell it like it works otherwise, because that would be, that's happened a couple of times where they're just like, oh yeah, it's HomeKit supported, but not really. So this would be interesting to test out. But yeah, the same thing. I think it's like, especially scheduling, you could schedule the purifier to go on for 20 minutes and then this to turn on, and then you like come into the room and it smells all nice and something like that. So especially different scents for like different things you're doing with work, that's totally down my lane. Like, oh, I can, when my home screen changes, the aroma changes or something like that. So maybe a little excessive with that, but I think
maybe
this is, I mean, it's around $50 too. So this is the kind of thing that I could see some random company being like, this costs $100. So it's nice that it's generally affordable. It sounds like a nice, just kind of like spatial environmental change that you can do that. So otherwise you're stuck in the same place all day long every day, like me. So
while we think about that, let's take a quick break to tell you about Technology Powers X, an original podcast. It's by Dell Technologies. Now, think about that title, Technology Powers X. They fill in, they solve for X each episode. So each episode is like technology powers this thing or that thing. Each episode of Technology Powers X focuses on a different industry and goes behind the scenes to help you understand how technology and IT departments are reshaping their businesses through AI, cloud, edge, intelligent devices, and more. I was able to get a sneak peek of this season of Technology Powers X, which is super cool. And in one episode, it talked about how theme parks use sensors, of course, massive amounts of data and software to make the rides safer, to make those lines more efficient, and of course, to make everything super fun. So when things start to open back up again, you'll be ready to take on the theme park and have an understanding of how that technology works behind the scenes. There's also an upcoming episode that talks all about vertical farming, so going up instead of going out, and how innovative new tech can change where our food comes from, and how this may be the future of sustainably feeding 21st century populations, which are a lot bigger than they used to be. You know, we spread out to the left, to the right, the north, the south, but I guess I should have said east, west, north, south, but going up is what we can do to make more room for our food. Technology Powers X is hosted by Danielle Applestone, who herself is a hardware engineer and entrepreneur. And guess what? Here is a clip from the episode, The Beer You Love.
Today at New Belgium, the ancient craft of brewing has an indispensable 21st century ingredient, hyperconverged infrastructure. That infrastructure supports almost every aspect of planning, marketing, sales, and distribution.
You thought it might have been yeast or hops or something like that? No, it's hyperconverged infrastructure. That's the important ingredient. I love that you get this little, oh, I never thought about how this technology was used in this industry. You can listen to that whole episode to learn all about how technology powers beer at the New Belgium Brewing Company. Search for Technology Powers X anywhere you listen to podcasts and download each episode today. That's Technology Powers X. Download it today. And of course, our thanks to Technology Powers X for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today and for their support of Twit. All righty, it's the holiday season. And with that comes a desire, at least amongst those of us who like smart home stuff, to add or augment our smart home decorating, or our home decorating with smart stuff. And so I thought that we could talk a little bit about ways to add smarts to your decorating setup. What's interesting is that this has been one of the places where smart technology has existed for the longest time. I can think back to when I was but a youth, and my great-grandparents My great grandpa loved decorating for every holiday. And I mean, Valentine's Day, he would have decorations, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all sorts of different holidays. And he would have decorations for them all. And come Christmas time, he really went all out. And one of the things that I thought was the coolest was it was a power plug, and it had these little tabs on it, almost like a rotary dial, but even smaller. And you would sort of flick some of the tabs to choose a time period at which the plug would power on or power off. And so without him having to get involved in the process at all, he could turn the lights on all of his holiday gear and turn them off again afterward. And that still to this day sticks out as one of the early examples of kind of my interest in smart home stuff, because it was just so cool that he didn't have to think about it or worry about it, and it would just run.
I might have one of those downstairs. I'm very curious. Oh, wow. I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about, and this house is 100 years old, and I'm pretty sure they had smart switches or timed switches for stuff like that. So I might have one in my drawers downstairs. I should check after.
That's hilarious.
Maybe on the next break.
And yeah, I mean, those still work just fine, as part of your setup to this day. So you may even be using them already. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the energy use that we have around the holiday season. I do my best through, like, anytime I've moved into a new place and, just in general, as I continue to age and sort of add to the stuff that I have tried to replace all of the lighting fixtures or, lighting devices in my home and in my inventory, I guess, with LED versions of the the bulbs and things that I would have had, and that includes holiday lights. They still sell incandescent lights to this day, and those really add up when you run them for hours and hours and hours. That wattage use really adds up. So one of my recommendations is getting a smart plug that not only can you set on a timer to say, when the sun sets, turn these on, or at X hour, turn these on, and at X hour, turn these off, but also for the sake of being able to monitor how much energy you're using so that you can, A, just be aware of it in general, but B, it can kind of help you if you decide, oh, well, it costs a little bit of money to upgrade these lights to LEDs, but every year I enjoy decorating for the holiday season, and I want to be more environmentally conscious, and I also want to save money. So now I can see just how much money that would save me by switching to LED bulbs. So that's one of the places where I think it makes sense. We already know about the scheduling factor of smart stuff, but to take that a step further, I think is really fun. And of course, another automation that I think can be a lot of fun is the idea of presence-based automations. And I don't mean presents as in the things you put under the tree if you celebrate Christmas, but existing in a space presence, where maybe you don't need to have certain lights on all the time, or, running whenever you're not at the house, but that it uses your location to determine, okay, this person is left, there's no reason to have these lights on. So yeah, basically when you're smartening up for the holiday, you can take things past just being, I turn the lights on at this given time and the Frosty the Snowman blow up yard ornament, and I turn them off at this given time. There are lots of other automations you can add to that mix.
Yeah. I'm curious also, because one of the things with Christmas lights, or in general with turning off lights when you're gone, is it's like, I'm now unconscious. Like, my house is empty, or whatever kind of thing. That's always like, should you leave on a string of lights overnight or something like that? Just, I don't know. It's like, once you have them on, turning them off implies something else. I don't know. That's maybe just depends where you live and your amount of being freaked out in the neighborhood. But I totally wish I had thought about this more 2 weeks ago because I want to get those cheaper smart plugs to specifically for stuff like this, because I think, especially if it is the stuff that's fully on a schedule, it doesn't really matter if you have HomeKit support or not. And so some of those cheaper like Amazon ones seem like a nice specific use for holiday decorations, because then it's like suddenly for 1 month out of the year, you have 5 new plugs that you want to plug in and have smart, but the rest of the time you don't need them. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what we'll do with ours, because we've got a air purifier and everything and all that. I guess, you know what? Got my Flic buttons. Maybe I'll set some of these up to be the triggers for them. I guess that's not the outlet side, but I got to repurpose things a little bit. Oh, you know what? Another good one. I have the Eve power strip that has 3 plugs on it, and that would make multiple products at once smart. So that's cool. We have like the wreath. We switch out the plug that we have for the entryway, and we have a wreath right there. So that's nice to have come on automatically at night. And then we also have a light strip wrapped around the railing going up our stairs. So that's a nice, just like wintry glow thing that we totally, it's like, oh yeah, now it's totally Christmas season. But I've been trying to figure out more scenes too. Like I might do just a completely excessive Christmas colors in my office, where the light strip, the LifeX one, which you can set different spaces around, like do red and green, and then the overhead ones I have too. So maybe just one that starts playing Mariah Carey right away or something. Or not. Maybe somebody else. Maybe classical.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like especially I think I forget that you can set in HomeKit scenes stuff like HomePod devices and stuff like that to play specific playlists too, so that you can really have like fireplace. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I have a shortcut that opens the Apple TV, or turns on the Apple TV and opens it into a fireplace app that you might have, and then puts the remote so you can select which one. Because that's something I like to do, is put up the fire and then do like cozy Christmas stuff and turn on the lights, and maybe turn off the other ones too, because you've got lights all over. So I like the energy cost thing is worth considering as well.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think that it's, like I said, there's the obvious versions of smart home automation for this, and then the not so obvious versions. And I just watched, my partner and I just rewatched Home Alone the other day. And it was really funny seeing him try to make it look as if there were people at home whenever he was the only one home. And it made me think about the smart home and how he would have been helped with some Internet of Things devices in that instance. But he did a very fine job with just some ropes and cardboard cutouts and a record player instead of a Roomba to make the person sort of spin around. So it was funny to me, that moment of like, oh man, you know, you could really get away with some Home Alone nonsense with some IoT devices. But send in the ways that you have been adding smart home stuff to your holiday decorating. I'd be curious to hear what folks are doing and how they are doing their decorations.
Definitely. I just thought of one more is playing like Santa sound effects. I mean, spoilers. But playing reindeer sounds or like jingle bells and things like that on your HomePod automatically at like midnight, just for fun.
That could be good.
That's like,
although it could scare the pants off of people if they aren't ready for it. I guess you let the people who need to be ready for it be ready for it, and then the people who you don't want to be ready for it, certainly that would be really cute. See, look, some things get easier as we as we add IoT to them. Some things get more difficult. I'm thinking about how my family would have been helped by that growing up. Yeah. That's kind of cute. Well, speaking of being helped by things, I've got a way to help you with your connectivity this holiday season, and frankly, anytime. And that is with the help of the Fox. What Fox, do you say? It's Mint Mobile, of course. Mint Mobile. We're sponsoring this episode of Smart Tech Today. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you're going to get another 3 months for free. Listen, as the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile knows what it's doing and lets you safely order from home and maximize your savings with plans starting at just $15 a month. I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday season and long before this deal, and I have to say, listen, right now is the perfect time to switch. I cannot believe 3 months plus 3 months free. That is going to open up your wallet for lots more gift giving. You know, that's like a whole stockings worth of stocking stuffers is what you'll be getting with that deal. And of course, you know, think about that person in your life who's constantly complaining about how much money they spend with their ridiculous carrier. One of those big carriers, you could give this as a gift. You know, put it in a gigantic box with a bunch of little boxes inside, getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And right in the middle is a SIM card from Mint Mobile. And you say, guess what, you fool? I've saved you so much money. Happy Christmas, happy holidays, etc. Such a great gift. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here right now. So if you've been holding out, waiting for the best offer, well, you don't need to hold out because it's here. For a limited time, you get that 3 months of free service on any 3-month plan purchase. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. It's T-Mobile. And you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. And of course, keep your same phone number. Don't worry about that, along with all of your existing contacts. And if you're not 100% satisfied, well, just like a gift receipt, Mint Mobile has you covered with its 7-day money-back guarantee. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to our link, mintmobile.com/STT. That's mintmobile.com/STT. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/STT. Thanks so much to Mint Mobile for sponsoring yet another episode of Smart Tech Today and for supporting Twit. We do appreciate you. The Fox. All righty, Matthew, it's time for our picks of the week. What, sir, is your pick?
It's called HomePass, and I think we mentioned it before, but now it's a universal app on the Mac. So you can go in and enter in all of your HomeKit codes, because this is still one of the weirdest things about HomeKit is that they give you a random unique identifier that's attached on a piece of paper in the product that you get. And then if you lose that sometimes it's on the product itself, but for some, if you lose that, you literally can't use that device ever again. And so it's very wild. I don't know why this isn't something that Apple already offers, but maybe they should acquire this app and just make it available to everybody. But it's $2.99 as a one-time purchase for all your devices, and it's just really helpful to enter in your codes and make sure for sure you will be able to get into that over time. It's one of those things that doesn't seem that useful until the moment it is, and then you're like, thank God I have this all set up, because this was going to take me ages to figure it out otherwise. So highly recommended.
Yes, I have HomePass, and I was so excited to see it come to my Mac as well. It is the way that I keep track of all of my different HomeKit codes. But when I think about it, it can be used because it saves QR codes that are like HomeKit. So you could probably use it for even more smart home devices. I think, at least if they're QR code enabled. And that it kind of actually led me down a bit of a rabbit hole to understand how HomeKit's codes work and the difference between the old style codes and the new codes that are QR enabled and how to set those up with NFC. And it's only the newer codes that can do NFC. The older codes don't actually offer that functionality. So I learned a whole new thing about HomeKit because of this app, and it was really kind of fun to dig into. But yeah, if you're looking for a great place to save those codes so you don't have to either dig out the manual or in some cases unplug the plug because they put the stupid code in the back of it or something, it's ridiculous sometimes. Ugh. So this is helpful for that. But my pick of the week, I mentioned that I got an Amazon Smart Plug for $4.99. That finally arrived. They always said it was going to be coming in December. And it's plugged in right now, and I'm actually using it for my tree, so I can't show it to you. But it works as expected. Because I have an Eero device, I was able to set up this. So if you have an Eero device and you connect it with your Amazon account, then when you buy an Alexa enabled device like the Amazon Smart Plug, as you're going through the checkout, you can choose set up this device to work with my Wi-Fi network. And so literally all I had to do was plug it into the wall and it connected with my home Wi-Fi network without me having to do anything. Didn't have to launch an app, didn't have to do anything. It just automatically started working. And then I got a notification on my phone saying it's called this. And so you can use Alexa to control it. And so I tested it. I said, Alexa, turn on this plug. And it responded to say, okay, the plug is turned on. And it said, I'm still learning about your device. Is a light connected to it? And I said, no. And it said, okay. And then it said, if you'd like to change that in the future, you just go into the app to do so. So immediately it, helped me complete the setup process without ever having to, I could have just left it even and waited for that setup process until the first time I sort of used my voice to set it up. But that, my friends, is integration at its very best. And I was really impressed with how easy it was to set up. And so I've had that feature turned on for any Alexa enabled device that I've added to my home, where all I have to do is just plug it in and it starts working with my home internet network. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, nice. I see it on the Amazon page right now. It just explains the basic thing with the Wi-Fi network. So that makes sense.
Yep. It's available for $24.99, which, given that I got it for $4.99, seems a bit expensive, but you will find that that's actually $24.99 is quite a bit to somewhat less than many of the other smart plugs out there. And so far, the Wi-Fi has been perfect, and I've had no connectivity issues. And like I said, that setup process really sold it for me. But yeah, you might wait until another deal comes around. Could be deals after the holiday season. But if that is the case, then you could get it for less than $24.99. But like I said, even the $24.99 price is quite good for this.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially with the setup. And if you can get it on sale, and if it's going to be for HomeKit users, particularly if it's going to be something that's mostly on a normal automation, maybe you don't have to worry about that spread across two different platforms. But yeah, nice. Like I said, I wish I had bought 5 of these, like you said, for $25 for Christmas stuff, and that'd be perfect. We'll see. They tend to drop on sale pretty regularly.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check Homebridge to see if somebody set up an integration yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not available now. It should be available soon. Folks, as I mentioned, we are going to be doing a questions and answers episode soon. So be sure to send in your questions. I've gotten a few more since the last episode. It's STT, simple, at twit.tv. Stands for Smart Tech Today, STT at twit.tv. That way I'll get them. We'll put together those questions so you can have them answered. Of course, we record this show live every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to tune in live to watch the show, that's how you do it. But and then you just go to twit.tv/live, and we'll have the different live streams available. But the best way to watch the show is to get it on your own time by going to twit.tv/STT and subscribing to the show in both audio and video formats. You just click on that and you choose your service of choice: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, that's kind of the best way to make it happen. And Matthew Casanelli, if folks want to follow you online and check out all the great work you're doing, where do they go to do that?
The best spot right now is MatthewCasanelli.com/newsletter. And I've got my What's New in Shortcuts newsletter every week. I've got 8 new shortcuts this week, a couple that are exclusive for members too. That's where you can find my Christmas one and stuff like that too. So lots of fun stuff there every week. And I hope you subscribe. What about you, Micah?
Excellent. I am at Micah Sargent on pretty much all of the social media networks, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the different places I exist online, and in some cases, QR codes. And yeah, that's where you can go to see the stuff that I do. I guess that's goodbye. This is what I usually say at this point. So it's time to say good afternoon to all of your smart assistants, even the ones that don't play Spotify.
Have a merry little Christmas setup season.
And happy holidays. Ho, ho, jingle.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, host at Twit TV. Got a question for you. Have you gotten tired of how bad your photos are looking every time you post them to Instagram? Better yet, have you gotten yourself a new camera and you can't quite figure out why the images just don't look that good? Well, I have a solution for you. This is my show, Hands On Photography. Each and every Thursday, I sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer and a better post processor. So subscribe today at twit.tv/hop to learn more.